And welcome back to NewsMakers. I'm Mike Briggs, the host of the show every single Wednesday at this time. By the way, if you watch this show, you got to know that we have about 20 different shows throughout the week. Our art show, author show, business shows, real estate shows, and they're all live from our Tower District studios. This show we reserved for people who make the news, mayors, council members, police chiefs, stuff like that. And today our guest is Mike Reid, the Deputy Chief of Police for the city of Fresno. Welcome, Mike.
Thank you, Mike.
First time here, by the way?
Absolutely. It's my first time. But I appreciate the offer to come here and talk to you.
Now, and we're going to tell us about the new chief, by the way, Chief Balderrama.
Good. You got the name. Chief Balderrama has been with us now probably about 4 weeks. Mm-hmm. He came from Oklahoma City. He went through a very competitive process to actually apply for the job and then ultimately get the job. So what we've seen in 4 weeks is this is a very genuine guy. Mm-hmm. He actually feels for Fresno and has made an attachment in a very short period of time. He also is a cop's cop. You look at him and you go, okay, that's somebody I can follow. So in a very short period of time, he's kind of started endearing himself to the Fresno Police Department and to the community, which is important.
Yeah, and whoever was on the hiring committee must have sensed that he's that kind of person.
Yeah, I'd love to go through. It'd be an entire show just talk about the hiring process.
It's a lot, yeah.
Very intensive, but it had a lot of community involvement this year. And so what they tried to do is they tried to do it as transparent as possible. Let people that were involved in the community in different aspects be involved in the selection process, and then ultimately he had to come here and prove that he wanted the job.
Yeah.
So once he got here, he met the agency, he met some of the community members, did a wonderful thing by coming to Fresno.
And I won't make you comment on this unless you want to, but it's an interesting dynamic that the chief is now the mayor, and now there's a new chief from out of Fresno, mm-hmm. and it's going to be interesting to see how that unfolds. So,
well, the good thing is that the mayor knows how to run a police department,
yep.
right? That's a good thing. But he also knows what to expect from the performance of a police department. So that's going to be an interesting dynamic we haven't had in Fresno. Other cities have had that. In fact, a friend of mine, Brian Dugan, is a chief at Tampa, Florida, mm-hmm. and his boss used to be the police chief.
Yeah.
So she's now the mayor. So it happens.
Oh yeah, I've seen her. Yeah. I've seen her on the news. Now is that Tampa Bay?
Yes.
Is there any football there?
There is just a little bit, right?
This Sunday, I think they're playing in Tampa Bay.
Yeah, I think so, and they're very excited about that.
Now, so you help run the department. There's 4 deputy chiefs, is that
yes.
right? And how are your duties split up?
So we have 4 divisions in the agency plus the office of the chief. So my division is a support division. Mm-hmm. So basically it's all the special units in the agency, like our EOD or bomb team, mm-hmm. our K9 unit, our Skywatch, our SWAT, negotiators, things like that. And it's also our traffic enforcement, which is our special events unit. So every one of the protests that we've had in Fresno, that's over 70 since the middle of summer, has been followed under my division. So,
okay. The other divisions are what?
We have a patrol division, which is our biggest. We have an administrative division, which is really hiring, internal affairs, and training. And then we have, obviously, investigations, which is the downtown headquarters investigators.
And would take in homicide and stuff like that? So.
Homicide, it's our special, we have several types, but one deals with violent crime, or what we used to call persons crimes. And then we have some that deal with maybe the property type crimes.
Property crimes, right. Now, I wanted to start by asking you about COVID. Almost every one of our shows here is about COVID.
Right.
And it's taken, just kind of slowed our whole city down quite a bit. What's your internal protocols? Officers wear masks?
Yes. When COVID hit, we had some things to do initially. And one is to protect the public. The second is protect our employees.
Right.
So we went through the emergency order process, either from the state, the county, or the city, and we adopted some of our procedures to accommodate those things. We require our officers to wear masks, and the reason we do that is for their safety and the safety of the public, because we have so many contacts. There's been literally hundreds of thousands of contacts with our community members since it started.
So police officers sooner or later are going to contact somebody with COVID and not even know it. You would think so. Police officer pulls someone over in their car. They approach the car with a mask on.
They typically do, and what they try to do is get the reaction of the person, because it's a little unnerving to think about if a cop pulls up with a mask on.
Yeah, right? That's true. Good point.
So we reassure them that this is for their protection, our protection. If it goes to where the person is non-compliant with that thing, then we'll drop the mask down and talk to them that way and say, see, I'm a police officer.
Okay.
People are just, they're scared right now. They're conscientious about their health. And we want to make sure that we operate within the confines of what makes them as comfortable as possible, given the circumstances.
And I'm going to ask you in a minute, COVID's hit your department really hard, and we want to talk about that a little bit. But as far as wearing the mask, can you chase a bad guy when you're wearing a mask?
It's very difficult. Law enforcement's one of those things where we're either responding to somebody called or we're seeing something and responding ourselves.
Right.
That's called self-initiated activity. And it's very difficult to get that mask up and on and as you're chasing someone down. So sometimes you're going to see officers that are taking immediate action that maybe don't have the mask on or fully on. We encourage them to do it if they possibly can, but not at the risk of themselves or the fleeing felon type thing where somebody's leaving the scene of a crime. Want to get them in custody as quickly as possible. But the minute we can, we take those precautions.
Yeah, of course. Now, we lost a police officer, I read in the news, from COVID.
We did. Breaks our heart. I mean, for the agency, in the 27 years I've been here, we haven't had a line of duty death before. Angel De La Fuente was he was a revered officer. He is one of the finest people I know, and he worked in Southeast, and he contracted COVID, and it unfortunately took his life.
Yeah.
And so that's one of the things we reaffirm to our people is be very, very careful. Wash your hands, do all the protocols, but understand that we're assuming some of the risk with COVID because we can't always don the personal protective gear that other people can't. So understand the risks, understand the benefit of it. We've had officers that have been hospitalized that have gotten better, and we have a very dear friend of mine, Sergeant Paul Brown, who's currently in ICU at Clovis Community, who's on a ventilator. And that one strikes very close to home.
Yeah.
So we're praying for him and his family.
Is it, when I was in the legislature, I fought for presumptive illnesses. Is it a presumptive illness with a police officer? They get COVID, that they got it on duty?
Yeah, California passed some legislation recently that added that into a presumptive. So it is a workers' compensation claim.
That's
but honestly, that doesn't alleviate the risk at all. It's still a risky proposition, and law enforcement and mostly all public safety didn't have the capability of stay at home and shelter when this thing hit. We had to do business as usual.
No phoning it in or doing a Zoom call to do your job. You get up, you go to work.
We just couldn't do that. We had to protect the people. And so we assumed some of that responsibility and the risk. And unfortunately, one of our officers passed away from it.
Yeah, that's very sad. Now, I try to wear a mask most of the time, keep distance. Like, people may think we're sitting by each other, but see, there's a big, about 10 feet between us. And I stay out of the grocery stores, and, when I'm out socializing, I try to keep 6, 7, 8 feet away. So I do what I can to be careful. I could probably do more, but I'm like 95% careful. There's some people out there, and I saw it on the news, who are saying, no mask, I'm not going to wear a mask. And they're protesting. They're going to businesses and protesting. How are you guys handling that?
Well, the first thing we want to do is gain voluntary compliance. Some people just don't know what the mask ordinance is, so we kind of tell them ahead of time. What we try to do is talk to the store management and ask them what their wishes are. We've had a couple of incidents where we closed the store because people refused to leave, and then we discussed what a trespass ordinance is and how that would be in fact. But in the vast majority of cases, and we're hoping this continues, we get voluntary compliance from the people that are protesting, and they leave. And so that seems to be kind of the middle ground. Over the last couple of weeks, that seems to have ramped up a little bit. But we're hoping as time passes and the vaccine is more available, that goes away. Right.
Now, you said you had COVID and didn't know it, right?
Yes.
Maybe I'm not supposed to ask you personal
No, it's all right.
Yeah.
I'm an open book.
Yeah, but any of those people not wearing a mask, they could have had it or they could have it now, and they could be spreading it. So.
And that's one of the things we want to remind people is that you could be a carrier, you don't even know it. You're asymptomatic, right? But this thing passes even though you might be asymptomatic. All the science isn't 100% on this because it was so quick and developed so quickly. But I think as science catches up a little bit with the pathology of the disease, we'll know more. But for right now, it's an abundance of caution. Wear the personal protective gear that you have. Wash your hands. Keep your hands out of your face, right?
I'm well educated and well read, and that's the first thing I tell people. I say, I don't have any idea I don't have any idea about this virus. But then there's people out there who they're experts. Say, you don't need a mask, you don't need this, you don't need that. So, I don't want them leading my community or making decisions for me. Really, that's what they're doing.
Right.
And I feel that if somebody comes to me with COVID and they're not taking the protections, it's sort of like an assault, so it's scary.
Yeah, it's scary, and people are still scared right now. We just started rolling out the vaccine. In fact, this is the first week that law enforcement has been able to receive the vaccine.
Right.
And so we want to make sure that everybody that can take it can get it.
Right.
I want to make sure that you understand that the science isn't 100% just yet on that, but this is the best information available right now. Masks are the same thing. Yeah. Washing your hands are the same thing. Right. It's the best available information. Why not use it? Right.
Pretty easy, really, for me. Yeah. Now, can you tell us what is there a mask ordinance?
We don't have a mask ordinance. What city council can do is say on city properties, right? Mm-hmm. What the governor can do is say suggestions about masks, and some of the emergency orders have dealt with masks and have it. Even at the presidential level, President Biden has suggested that making mandatory masks. Mm-hmm. I think he had signed an executive order on flights. Yeah. And on federal property. So there's pieces of it, but we want people to understand if you go into a business and it doesn't have a sign, but the business owner requires you to wear a mask, California allows business owners to refuse to serve anyone. Right. So they can immediately withdraw that right and ask you to leave because of that. So we want people to understand that concept.
The way we express it here at Central Valley Talk is it's not the law or it's just our company policy is that you would wear a mask when you come in. So right. We've had no problems with that.
Good.
So, okay, COVID. So it's going to be with us a while, I think. So we'll be talking about it for a long time. I want to talk about, we're in the Tower District, and we seem to have, I thought we had all the homeless in the whole city right here in the Tower, right. But recently driving around, I see it's pretty well spread out. And I feel like the people who are homeless aren't people down on their luck, but they've made a lifestyle choice. Maybe they're on drugs or also the mentally ill. Mm-hmm. I know there's some new effort with the city to kind of clean that up. What's happening?
Well, one of the things that we look at with homelessness, right, is it was impacted severely by COVID itself. A lot of that population did have the capability of catching that disease really quickly. And then there were some orders at the state level that talked about moving encampments during a COVID crisis. Mm-hmm. So it limited law enforcement or somebody else's ability to kind of move those things. Since Mayor Dyer's taken over the helm, he's created something called Operation Off-Ramp. And really what he's trying to do is consolidate resources for homeless folks and also a cleanup effort with a long-term, once it's clean, let's keep it clean approach. And what we've seen is that in the first operation that was really kind of structured, 42 people took services, which is unique. That means some people with mental health got mental health services. People that need transitional housing got that. People that just need health care got that. COVID testing and all those things, plus the cleanup effort. So one of the things that we realize with homelessness is you're not going to arrest your way out of it. It doesn't happen. It is widespread around the city because Fresnans are benevolent. They love to support people. They love to help people. And so wherever you're at, there's a possibility of somebody giving you some money to be able to
get a little money.
Yeah. And so once they do that, if it's an addiction that's driving the homelessness, then it feeds the addiction. That's why we talk to people about, let's give money where it will do the most good, like the Poverello House or the food bank, right? But I think with this new effort, it's really resource driven. Let's combine the HERO team, which is a city team. Let's combine mental health, which is Dwan UTEC and folks over at Fresno County. And let's couple those services with cleanup abatements. And let's get people where they need the help, right? So I think that's a new focus for the mayor.
Well, yeah, and my argument has been that they don't want help, they don't need help. But you're saying, no, Mike, because 46 people took services. That's very encouraging.
It is. It's you have to build a relationship with them so that they trust you.
Yeah.
And then we can find out what exactly is their issue. Several years ago, Chief Dyer was the police chief at the time. We created something called the MAP Point with the Poverello House and behavioral health, and it's a multi-access point of entry for people.
I think it's still going on too.
It is, and it's a wonderful resource. There's a group called Community Conversations, which is really an eclectic group of well-intentioned people from every walk of life, every service industry. It's being run by Lynn Ashbeck, who is a wonderful person. But what they did was they said, let's get somebody in there where we can kind of do a 360-degree assessment of their need and then get them to the right place. Not say, here's a referral, but actually get them to whatever the need is. That, in conjunction with Operation Off-Ramp, I think is going to be very successful.
Right. So it's not just moving them around, but it's getting the service they need. We have here in the Tower District what I call the screamers. They're screaming to somebody who I can't see, and it goes on all day and all night. There's quite a few of them. It scares the heck out of people. They seem pretty harmless, really, and I barely hear them anymore. But they need a different kind of service, I guess.
They do, and we have that at Fresno PD. Several years ago, we co-located with behavioral health, and we took officers that are higher trained, and we took them out of this uniform and put them in something that's a little bit more civilian-like. Took them out of a black and white car with a star on the side, put them in something that's a little different, and it's called our crisis intervention team. So we go with mental health employees. Most of them are licensed certified social workers or clinicians, and we go with an officer, and we try to get those people the psychological assessment or the help that they need too. One of the things that we could do a little bit better that we're talking about right now is conservatorships, because sometimes the people don't meet the threshold to get them without their consent to a hospital. But they need long-term care. That's where a conservatorship might help.
So there's something going on out there. Those of you who say they're doing nothing, they are. They got all these plans and things are actually happening. It sounds great on the homeless front.
I appreciate that.
But we're always going to have homelessness out there, I guess.
Well, there's critical need homelessness, which is people that just lost the ability to live in a place. And there's also long-term homelessness. People that it's not a lifestyle choice, but the lifestyle pressures have put them in that position.
Put them there,
right? So differing needs require differing solutions, and I think that's why the city's on a pretty good path right now to get that accomplished.
So there's someone out there identifying these people, learning their names, kind of getting some background data, and eventually showing them a path to get some support or services.
Absolutely. Even to the point that American Ambulance, who we work with hand in hand, Fresno County Emergency Medical Services, Dan Lynch over there, some of the people from the CRMC Hospital Council, they meet on a regular basis and discuss treatment options for people. So they'll come up with a treatment plan of people that use the ambulance quite a bit to get to an emergency room. So there's some real exciting things that look at long-term solutions to recurring problems.
That's good. Now, we talked about COVID, we talked about homelessness. Crime, I feel like the whole landscape has changed on crime, that people aren't being held in jail anymore like they used to be for the same crimes. I guess some state laws changed that makes it easier or less illegal, some crimes that used to be pretty serious.
Right. So since 2011, we've had some things that seem to multiply that effect that you're saying. It started with AB 109, which was a realignment of prison inmates back to the county. We saw some closing of some facilities. Right now, they're in the process of closing all the California Youth Authority long-term care facilities. We saw some closing of mental health facilities. We've seen some pulling back of the criminality of certain possession drugs. It used to be when I started as a police officer 27 years ago, if I saw a young man with a pocket full of roofies, I knew that was a date rape drug. Bad things were happening. With some of the pulling back of the criminality of that thing, now it's a citation. I take those and I hope you appear at court 90 days later. So the consequences have changed. Recently, we just went through a kind of a realignment of the probationary status. So we have 1 and 2 year probationary status people now, and that's the maximum that we get with a very few exceptions. So some of the tools that law enforcement used to use to get behavior to change aren't there anymore.
They're gone,
So we have to be learners in law enforcement. We have to figure out different ways to do things, and then we have to create these collaborations with other entities that maybe have more expertise in drug rehabilitation. Right. So we can't arrest our way out of the problem anymore. We have to figure out some of these long-term solutions.
And that's, a lot of the drug laws were relaxed. Is that
They
right?
were,
Yeah.
yes.
Now, what do you have to do to get locked up in jail in Fresno now?
Well, Fresno, on top of all that, a lot of municipalities have operated under a federal consent decree. Our jail does, and that's Fresno County Sheriff's Department. They do a great job of managing that thing. But the federal consent decree says that the populations have to be X number based on the decree. So you can't, for instance, house rival gang members in the same pod, so you have to have space available for that, so they don't hurt themselves once they're in there. That creates another layer of issues that kind of limit the space available for people. What we've done over the last probably decade is we've actually paid the county to rent 5 beds in perpetuity so that we can put anybody there.
Right.
One of the things that we saw because of the emergency orders in COVID, though, was the zero bail, right?
Yeah.
And so that bed space that we're paying for only works if there's a bail attached to it, and they can't make the bail, right? So we lost that capability, too.
Yeah, just to clarify, the state, there's no bail anymore. You just get out for free.
They changed what constituted, and it was called the Zero Bail Initiative. But what they did was they looked at the types of crime, and they said, these types of crimes, then there is no bail for those. You can be released for a variety of reasons, right? And it's usually on your own OR to get to a court date. Some, obviously a homicide suspect will stay in prison.
Right.
But some of the gun crimes that we normally saw were deemed to be zero bail. And so a lot of the people that we're arresting that had illegal weapons, for instance, and we're trying to reduce violent crime, they were getting out of jail pretty quickly. At no fault of anybody other than COVID and federal consent decrees and some of the changes in the law recently by the legislature.
Yeah.
All those things merged in 2020, and what we saw was what most major cities did see across the nation, a huge spike in violent crime.
So crime's up. I mean,
Some certain
letting
violent
people
crimes
out,
are up.
gun crimes, drug crimes,
Right.
serious, what I would call serious drug crimes, they're getting out.
Yeah, we saw a homicide rate last year in the 70s that we hadn't seen since when I got hired.
Yeah.
So what we're doing is we're focusing on violent criminals, the people that we know their past. We're putting together gang operations to get in those areas. But we're also talking with people. One of the issues that came out of this summer in the protests was, how come there's so many police in my neighborhood? It's an over-policing of certain neighborhoods. So we'd explain that that's where the crime is occurring, that we
crime's
need to be
happening, yeah.
there. It's not because of socioeconomic or race status of that neighborhood. It's
Yeah.
because that's where crime's occurring. Right now, what we're doing is a better job of, on the heels of an operation, going to the community and saying, this is why we did this. And even sometimes ahead of going them and saying, this is why we're going to do this.
Where we're going to do
Right.
it.
So, for instance, if we had a number of drive-by shootings in Southeast, we're going to have more traffic stops because they're drive-bys. And we're seeing an incidence of that. We're going to have more police officers in that area, right? And we're going to have more focused operations to try to stem the crime and figure out who it is doing that type of crime.
Right.
So it's something that we're better at communicating with the public. It's something that our new Chief Balderrama, is really intensely focused on, is letting the community know as much as possible about what we do and how we do it.
Yeah. I was the next area I was going to go into was shootings. There seem to be a lot of shootings, especially around this Tower District area.
What we've actually seen is probably 5 years ago, 2015, 2016, we implemented technology called ShotSpotter.
Yeah, we have some of those around here. I know.
Yeah, and what that is an acoustical sensor that picks up only gunshots and explosions. So, for instance, it doesn't pick up voices. It only picks up things at a certain frequency, which is gunshots. And so what it allows us to do is get more people here quicker. So initially, when we implement ShotSpotter in areas, and there's a good portion of Fresno that has it, you'll see an increase in the shooting calls. But over time, what we've seen with ShotSpotter is because of the efficiency of the response, we're actually getting less gunshot calls. So right now, it feels like it. It's usually this time of year, around first of the year when there's celebratory gunshots, and 4th of July where there's celebratory gunshots. A lot of people in the residence say, it's going crazy here.
Yeah.
The reality is we're actually seeing fewer and fewer of those things, but Fresno PD has a much better response because of ShotSpotter.
Very good. I've had walking down the street in the tower, a cop pulls up and says, did you see somebody with a gun? They just had a call, or the ShotSpotters spotted them. How many helicopters do we have?
We have 2 helicopters.
Just 2, okay.
Yeah, and we've had 2 for quite a while. They're getting a little old in their operation time. We do great maintenance approach to them so we can keep them flying quite a bit. But one thing that Fresno's doing is the unmanned air vehicles, UAV programs. So we're starting to implement more drones into policing the same way we would a helicopter. So think about it, it's a mobile observation platform that can't take police action.
Right.
But if we can put a drone up in a situation where we're going to go into, and it's in a public space, which is where we use them, And it's been vetted out through city council and through a lot of citizen work groups to understand the privacy rights of it. It's a very effective tool. So we're using those things a little bit more. We're even getting some that are interior models so that you can go inside and search a house a little bit easier.
That'd be for the safety of police officers.
Absolutely.
Definitely. I've not seen a drone, but that's pretty exciting. So,
Yeah.
For you kids watching, there's these great careers for you in a few years, drone operators and stuff
Absolutely.
like that, things we can't even imagine at this point. Now, traffic safety. People are seem to be driving crazy. There's some bad crashes. In fact, you said, I think, more people are being killed in traffic crashes than shootings.
It's very close. Those numbers are very,
By the
very
way,
close.
I feel I have a very low chance of getting shot because I'm not in a situation, it seems like more criminal types are the ones getting shot. Not that they deserve to be shot, but family people, we're not the ones especially getting shot. But you say car crashes are worse.
Yeah, and that's, I think the public has that same perception. The reality is that last year we had 63 fatal collisions where people lost their lives.
Yeah.
And that's a high water mark as well. A lot of that is maybe law enforcement being redirected to do other things. For a while we were in businesses making sure that people weren't taking too much product and things like that.
Yeah.
That had to be a safe concern for us for a bit. Plus, officers just getting COVID themselves and going out on that. So the numbers were down. But what we're seeing, and it really came to a point, December 26th, right before midnight, the day after Christmas, we had some officers working a cruise detail on Blackstone. And the cruise areas are really kind of the Herndon, Blackstone from Knees, now Fulton Street downtown, and Kings Canyon. Those are kind of the historical ones. But two officers saw a Charger and a Mustang racing, and they put the radar up on them. They're going 75 miles an hour, and something they should only been going about 35 to 40 miles an hour. So one of the officers comes in, and they pull over. One car stops, the Charger. The other one goes westbound on Bullard at a high rate of speed. The officer couldn't catch it, and we didn't have a helicopter up at the time. The unfortunate part of that thing is that person kept going through Palm Avenue on a red light, and he struck two other cars. Four people died that night, and it was a street racing incident where someone tried to evade the law enforcement. And it really makes a point that these are your family members that are going to get killed in a traffic collision, which is absolutely avoidable if we can just people to understand, that's 3,000 pounds of 60 miles an hour metal that is going down the freeway. That's 90 miles an hour sometimes. Just be cautious, be careful. So we've seen an uptick in street racing and sideshows, both very dangerous. I understand kids have cars, people have cars, and they're very proud of them. But when you drive in a way that's reckless or endangers other people, law enforcement's got to get involved, and that's what we're doing. So we're really focusing over the next 4 or 5 months on street racing. And the thing that we do is we're going to pull you over. If we see you street racing, we're going to tow your car.
Tow the car.
It's going to go to an impound yard. We're going to put 30 days on it. We're going to use
30 days.
We're going to use the Bureau of Automotive Repair to
People
look at the
might
car.
not see their car again for those tow fees and the impound fees and stuff. So
We're going to put on our website the cost of this, right? We really need to do public education first and then enforcement on this thing before this gets to where we're at 100 fatalities from collisions. So it's just education first. I want people to understand it's thousands of dollars. And once we do that, that's only the beginning. I mean, you talk about your insurance rates of your car, and that lasts for a long time. So we want people just to kind of be mindful of it, look for alternatives to that sort of thing like speed. But mostly, just pay attention to your neighbor because, you could get hurt, but you could kill a family of four very easily. And it could be my family, it could be your family. So I just implore people, really pay attention to that and really work with Fresno PD and CHP, the Sheriff's Department, Clovis PD, and let's minimize that.
And I guess the goal isn't to take the cars or to arrest people, it's to get them to stop doing the activity. So I'm telling you guys, you got your warning. They're going to impound cars. If you're racing, get your car impounded for 30 days or something, and the consequences that are going to go along with that. So they're looking for you, so just don't do it for a while. See what happens.
And this is one of those things that's avoidable. So we're going to be, when Mike says we're looking for you, that's the absolute truth. We're going to come out and we're going to actively seek those people that are doing that sort of thing and make them examples.
A couple things people ask me to ask you. Marijuana is legal now, or Can people walk around smoking it or have it?
Think
on
about
them?
marijuana much in the same way as you do alcohol, right? So there's rules about alcohol. Like you can't walk down the middle of Tower District unless it's a special event and they've got a permit with a beer, right? So, and you have to be over the certain age, 21. And you can't be intoxicated and do almost anything because that's a danger to yourself. So think about it in the same ways, the same rules apply. What we're seeing is last year we had 2 people that were involved in fatal collisions that were just under the influence of marijuana alone. So some people think it's a safe drug, but it is a drug. Use it like a drug. If you're going to use it, it's legal in California for recreational use, but we implore you, don't be under the influence of any intoxicant.
Don't smoke and drive. Or
No.
So.
It's a bad thing.
Well, Deputy Chief Mike Reid, thank you for coming. Any topics you want to bring up or say? I asked you a million questions. You answered all of them. I really appreciate that.
Oh, no problem at all. And I appreciate you inviting us onto the show. It's an opportunity for people to kind of get to know Fresno PD, which is a good thing. And it's an opportunity to kind of talk a little bit about our new chief and some of the restructuring that the agency is going under. But really, the focus hasn't changed. It's when law enforcement is all about public safety, right? And so whether we're helping a firefighter, whether we're helping do CPR on somebody that maybe had a heart attack, or we're pulling you over and giving you a ticket, it's all about let's make our community safe. And we reiterate that message. But what you're going to see is friendlier cops that do better about explaining. Maybe you haven't done a good job with that lately or in the past, but we're going to do that in the future.
Right. Is there going to be second guessing by police officers? That's going to get police officers shot or something like, well, I better not, the Black Lives Matter and all these riots and stuff, I better, be careful. I don't know how to phrase the question, but.
You're doing a really good job. You're basically asking, does it create hesitation? Because what could happen, right? And I think in large part, law enforcement had to kind of assimilate some of that information starting, with George Floyd on May 25th. And so we started thinking a little bit about that. But what we've done is we looked at our training, we looked at our policies, we looked at our procedures, and we do things really right at Fresno PD. Unfortunately, sometimes people have to use lethal force to stop the threat of somebody else getting hurt.
Yeah.
But, if you think about it, we didn't have the violence that other communities had.
Right.
So we've done a good job of really explaining why, how, and then our transparency is above reproach. Everything that you want to know about Fresno PD, you can find out.
You can find out, right?
Yeah, even the circumstances surrounding a shooting. So we do a good job of getting the information out to the community. And we'll get better at it, too, as well.
Very good. Our guest is Deputy Chief Mike Reid. We want you to come back. We want the chief to come. That will be great.
Absolutely.
And
We'd love to.
how can people, if they have questions, is there a website? Where do they check out the Fresno Police Department?
Yeah, we have most of our information, including our policies and procedures, are also involve shooting reports, our collision information. It's all on the City of Fresno's website.
Okay.
So if you go to City of Fresno Police Department, you can even click on the department section, drop down to the police department, and you can look at all the information that we put out there. The other thing you can do is if you have a Crime Stoppers tip, right? We work hand in hand with Crime Stoppers at the county level. So if you have information, that is a good resource for you as well. We also have the ability to stop and talk to any cop, and that's the one we prefer. If you got a question, come ask me. If you see me on the street, and I'll give you the best information I have. If I don't have the information, I'll find it and get it to you. But we want that personal interaction. We want people to feel safe and understand we're here to protect that safety for them.
Very good. Thank you, Deputy Chief. Deputy Chief Mike Reid, Fresno Police Department. Thanks for being our guest, and we'll be back with more Newsmakers right after this. there's a lot of people out of work right now. I mean,
Absolutely.
good people.
Yeah.
And it's not their fault. You're
Absolutely.
saying people could sign on with you? Is there an
we're
event
actually
coming
been,
up, or
solar's been actually deemed in essentials.
Okay.
There's no shutdown here. The rates are extremely high here in the California
electric
region.
rates?
Yeah, if you care about savings, if you care about changing the environment, if you care about building the value in your home, we're doing things in a fast pace, around 7 days install. We're looking for people to grow with us. February 24th, we're looking for talented people to kind of go out and educate customers to make the smartest decision.
solar's the place to be right now?
Solar is the place to be right now. No one is just coming, just giving them any price and any number. We want to make it make sense.
Cremation and burial planning. Simply speaking, we need to talk. Are your final wishes cremation or burial? The three most frequently asked questions about planning your cremation or burial plans are: 1. If my death occurred tomorrow, my funeral would be arranged by whom? 2. If my death occurred tomorrow, the money needed to pay for my funeral would come from where? And 3. If my death occurred tomorrow, I would expect my funeral to cost? Call today to set up a time to talk and pre-plan your final wishes. Call Ross Rice at 559-325-1201. Email Ross Rice at ross@riceinsbenefits.com or visit rossrice.myhomehq.biz.
Welcome back to Central Valley Talk, COVID edition. What's your life like right now? Are you locked in a room? Are you locked at home? Are you able to get out? Are you working at home? Do you have to work at home and have kids at home? Do you have to figure out how they can get their lessons from school through Zoom and stuff like that? Is this bottling up? Is it making you angry? Are you going to lose your mind? I'm losing mine because I'm at this same place every day. I live upstairs. I work downstairs. I don't go anywhere. So I've just had it. What are you going to do? Well, we've asked an expert to come in, expert on anger, to get some ideas what we can do. Where can we turn? Where can we challenge that anger? And our guest is Melissa Knight.
Hi.
You actually have a business called The Art of Anger.
I do.
Where can I focus all this anger?
Come see us. We are in the Tower District. We're actually walking distance from you here, and it's a wonderful place to just release everything that no longer serves you.
You brought some tools with you.
Well, yeah, just a baseball bat, just a little baseball bat, but we've got a wide range of weapons at the shop. Everything from pipes to baseball bats, quite a number of them. Sledgehammers, we've got those. We've got golf clubs.
You're gonna get your,
you're going to get
your anger out.
We've got packages where you got to figure out what package you want to do. Okay. You got to figure out what weapon you want to use. And the things that you're breaking are everything from glass breakables and ceramics, home decor kinds of things, to wood framed picture frames, large wall size kinds of things. We've got computers and monitors and cell phones and big screen TVs and lamps and mirrors, just all kinds of things. All kinds of things.
So is it just for fun, or is it therapeutic, or both?
We are holistic, artistic, therapeutic. It is alternative mental health. And so I advertise regularly with the mental health professionals of the Central Valley Facebook group, and I do Try It Free Tuesdays, which I targeted initially for mental health workers and expanded it, of course, to first responders and educators, because I wanted folks to be able to come in and get a walkthrough, get the philosophy, get a taste of it, see what it's like, get geared up, and what does it feel like, and so that they would know when they're referring people what they're referring them to and feel confident in doing so. So yeah, it's about giving people a place, and I consider it sacred space, because I consider the releasing work to be sacred work that for the most part society doesn't give us a way, a place, and permission to do. And we don't know how to give ourselves permission.
Right. Now, you have a little background in being a life coach and helping people get stuff out and How does all that tie in?
So I've been sending people for years to the batting cages or to the driving range, or, hey, go to the thrift store and buy an old chair and get an egg timer and go home and get a baseball bat, and don't do it at 2 a.m. when your neighbors are going to, think something's wrong, and, blasting rock music or whatever. And don't do it for longer than the 5 minutes you put on the timer. 5 or, 10 minutes.
Let it out.
And then give yourself 5 minutes and then take a break, because we can get really into the releasing, and depending upon what folks are going through, they may get kind of carried away. So it is an honor to be able to have a physical space where folks can come and I can keep an eye on them and, give them a Bluetooth and they can play whatever music they want. I've had people come in, and I had 2 best friend moms and 2 best friend daughters that came in, and they were country line dancing as they were smashing stuff. It was cute. I had a birthday party of folks. I think it was someone's 36th birthday party. They all raged, her and her friends and family raged all day to gospel music. I have a member, I do memberships, and I have a member who always rages to classical music.
Well, I don't know anything about psychology, but it seems like your rage builds inside of you. It's not one thing. It's a lot of things that builds and builds and builds, and eventually one thing triggers it. But it's usually not that one thing that got you that upset. But does it work to release it? A controlled release.
Right. It's things are buried down in our bodies, and especially heavy emotions that over our lifespan we've been taught to feel bad about. And part of the heart of what we do in terms of even the name, the art of anger, is about this piece where when you're all done doing that destruction work, we will give you a Ziploc baggie, and you can pick some of the shards of destruction off the rage room floor. No, not to take with you as souvenirs, but to create something, to create a unique piece of art. We have a rotating group of artists and residents, and Rhonda Kelly is our artist in residence right now, and she's an amazing artist. Assemblage work is her specialty. She's also a textile artist and a painter, and so she will work with folks to create a completely unique piece of art out of the shards of their destruction. Another option is to make a stepping stone. And the point is that when you're looking at a beautiful piece of art, you have to then decide what gets to hold space in your head, because all your life you've been told to shove that and stuff that down, and you've been made to feel bad and probably ugly inside because of it. Something's wrong with you, and if you are expressing it verbally because you're yelling, or you want to yell or scream or holler or throw things, you're out of control and you're dangerous and you're unstable or imbalanced. Those kinds of things, which add shame to it, and it gets buried further and further. Right. And what we know about even our California Surgeon General, Nadine Burke-Harris, she has a TED Talk, and she's talking about ACEs, the Adverse Childhood Experiences Scale, and you've probably heard of it, Mike. Anyone who has looked at an ACEs scale and is thinking about their kids or their grandkids or the students in their care and evaluating them, it's impossible to go through that and not ask yourself those questions. And the whole point of ACEs is that the range of adverse experiences is everything from losing a pet, losing a family member, who becomes ill and dies, or suddenly in an accident, or divorce, or moving is an adverse childhood experience, because it kind of dislodges you from your norms, right? So what we learned from ACEs is that there is a correlation, a very strong correlation and causal from the health impediments that we have as adults that we can track back using ACEs to these adverse childhood experiences. So we have higher, and I don't quote me because I don't know the exact percentages, but we see over the lifespan increased likelihood of all of the bad things that we don't want, like heart disease and diabetes and high blood pressure and depression and right, exactly. And so this is a way. So we know that there's research that says this stuff's going to make you sick, and then we know by all of the therapists that are in business trying to help people keep their marriages together and relationships together, that it sort of wreaks havoc on relationships too if you've got some stuff buried and it's popping out at different random times that are inopportune, right? So we know enough that, hey, it needs to come out. Now, where do we do that? Without being having someone call the cops on us that we're out of control, or without being made to feel bad about wanting to do the work.
So the answer is a rage room.
A rage room, and
we have one in Fresno
we
now.
do.
Now
we
you didn't
do.
invent this, I guess, because you said there's some
I
in
didn't
other
invent.
cities.
I didn't invent rage rooms, but I can guarantee you that our concept, our model, which we will be franchising, is absolutely, completely unique. Both because we are artistic and holistic. This piece of making art so that you are stepping on a stepping stone and reminding yourself, or seeing a stepping stone or a piece of art that you created from your shards, reminded that you're on your healing journey. Yeah. And that what used to be stuck inside of you and where you felt stuck in that trauma, you are moving forward now toward the life that you want, that you determine.
And there's an art component here. The art of anger is the name of your business.
Yeah.
So.
The art is creating that piece of art. And then a lot of people think that it's our Zen room because they'll see me on Facebook doing a live where folks are painting. And our Zen room is our low, no impact rage room because, again, these frustrating and angst-filled feelings, the trauma and the feeling of it, the hurt and the pain, get pushed down further and further in our body. And so we really need to pull it up and out. So it literally is this, swinging, kind of motion, right? So the splatter paint room, you're throwing paint at a canvas on the wall, and you walk out with a piece of art. But it's a rage room because you got to do that. If you just do this with the paint, it's just going to go on the floor. So you've really got to sling it to get it up on the wall. So you're going to use your whole body. And I tell folks, after you are done doing your rage session, and even if you do splatter paint, you're going to be sore the next day. So unless you work out with kettlebells or sledgehammers every day, you're going to be sore because you're using muscles in a different way. You're using weapons that you probably don't use every day,
right.
Even if you use some of the lighter weight ones. And then there's the emotional release that you're digging stuff up that's been there for a while. And you were right. You hit the nail on the head. Sometimes these things get triggered randomly, and it's just so much better if we can actually be proactive about our lives and decide that, hey, I don't like feeling that way, and I don't have to.
We can decide when we're going to let it out.
I'm right. I want to.
Tuesday at 4:00 at the Art of
at the Art of Anger. I want to heal myself.
Well,
I want to
let
work
me
on
ask you this: what if I told you, I don't think I could do it. I don't think I could break something.
I
do.
I have people come in and, usually with like a larger group, a family group or employees or something. And there's always the one that will say, yeah, I'm a mellow kind of guy, or, I'm the smooth one. I'm good. I think I'll just paint. And then once things start getting crashed, like, let me go take a look at that. Let me look at that. And they end up raging because, truly we all have things to release. We really do.
This logo is beautiful, by the way.
Thank
I've seen it a couple times. That's really something. So,
Thank you.
Art. Now, you told me where it is. It's over on Washawn in the Tower District.
Right. We're right on the corner of Washawn and Hedges. We're between St. Therese Church and High Top Coffee on the same side of the street.
Yeah.
So we're in a small little space there.
Walking. I'm going to walk over there and do it.
Come see us. Yeah. I don't do walk-ins. I do. I do walk-ins on holidays because everybody's family isn't safe. So on those major holidays, I'm open for walk-ins. So because if you force yourself to go and do what I call FaceTime with your family, even though your family is still toxic and causes you pain. I don't want you to go home and drink that away or use drugs to get that feeling gone or start sliding into deep depression. You can come and break some stuff on your way home and leave it on the rage room floor and then go on with your life the next day without being stuck in it, because trauma was never meant to be a destination, and we get stuck there, and we can get re-stuck there when we get re-traumatized.
Can people bring something like the wife could bring the husband's favorite golf trophy or his computer screen or something?
I do have a bring your own box, and it's bring your own box. It is a copy paper size standard box. I reserve the right to refuse anything in that box if it's something that's dangerous. So no caustic or toxic or flammable materials, obviously, people bring things, and if you don't want to, I've got plenty of things there for you to break.
Stuff,
and you don't have to bring. Not only do you not have to, but you can't bring weapons. You're going to use my weapons.
Yeah.
You're going to use my gear. You will be suited and booted head to toe.
There's a lot of insurance issues in a business like this, so
it's high risk insurance.
You don't want people to get hurt.
Absolutely. And one of the other things I think that definitely makes us unique is kids. I wanted to have kids. And so when we were looking for insurance coverage and some of the different carriers who are doing rage rooms elsewhere, no one under 18 or no one under 15 or no one under 13. And I'm like, that's not going to work for me. I want the parents that know that they want to get unstuck, and I want them to allow their children to express these emotions in a healthy way so that they don't ever start building it up, so that when they don't need to come in at our age, in our 40s and 50s, Mike, and need to break stuff that is childhood stuff that goes back to when they were 10 because
Well, we started this business, Central Valley Talk, 12 years ago because people said, there's nothing to do in Fresno. I said, no, there's so many things.
Right.
And we're looking to find those people who have cool things and put them on our show and say, there is something to do in Fresno. And Melissa Knight has the best new business, the best idea I've heard of in a long time.
Thank you.
And you're an essential service too, aren't you?
We are an essential business, which is a huge statement for mental health. And for alternative mental health. So this is about retaining and reclaiming power, because most people who have been experienced some kind of trauma, especially if you think about people in relationship trauma, or people who are survivors of domestic violence or sexual assaults or those kinds of experiences, or workplace sexual harassment, those kinds of things. There's a lot of shame, and there's a lot of anger, and there's a lot of rage. Grief, we've always known is righteous rage. Elizabeth Kubler-Ross and the 5 stages of grieving. Anger is absolutely a part of that, but yet we don't give people a way and a place to do it. So it makes sense to physically express this stuff so that it doesn't keep us stuck, so that we can go on with our lives.
Yep. Well, so somebody's watching and they say, I've got to go there. Where should they start? Should they go to the website, call the phone number? What do you want them to do?
Either. If they have some questions about what our packages are, and I'll tell you a couple of packages, and what kinds of things to break, or if they can bring things, or what they need to wear, by all means call us. And if they want to just go online and do it independently, our website is very easy to navigate, and most people do book themselves online, and I just get a ding on my phone that someone's just booked.
And then you have it instantly. Wow.
Yeah.
Isn't that great how this 21st century booking stuff, and
It's
you
amazing.
get the ding on your phone? Well, that's great. And they can call the 420-7706 if they like.
That's
Go
right.
to the website, theartofanger.com. That's a pretty easy website to remember, theartofanger.com.
The Art of Anger.
And it's right here in the entertainment center of Fresno, the
That's
Tower
right.
District, where all the cool and fun stuff
And
happens.
I have one. I'll tell you one of the packages. Our Flash Smash is why I open at noon. I call it the Keep Your Job Special, because you can come in and smash for 5 minutes. It's not enough to get to any real trauma. It's enough to piss you off if you're not already pissed off, because it's about 7 or 8 pieces of glass, so you're going to want more. But it's just enough for a noontime on your lunch break. Come in. You've got 5 minutes. 7, 8 pieces of glass, smash that, grab lunch in the Tower District. We've got some great restaurants,
that's right.
right? And you've already called it in ahead of time. Run in, grab your lunch, get back to work on time, and keep your job, because you don't cuss anybody out that afternoon.
Right.
So that's the Keep Your Job Special.
Get a little bit of the rage off
Right.
so you may not even know you have this built-in rage, right?
Right. You know, we're so used to it. Some things, they just come in and, I'm irritated. We don't think that it really bothers us, but it builds up and it adds up. So the lunchtime and the Keep Your Job Special, as I called it, we all work with toxic people, because people don't do their healing work, and they go to work and they spend most of their time at work.
Yeah.
So that's where we get into, workplace territorial issues, and people that, the person that's the bully at work and all that
There
stuff.
you go. Well, did you know that there's a place in Fresno you could go to and smash stuff and get your rage out? It is theartofanger.com. It's in the Tower District. Phone them up. Go to the website. But don't keep holding that anger in. And by the way, it's not just one person. You said birthday parties, date night.
Oh, yeah.
Family,
Yeah.
office. We used to do a thing at my old office where we'd all get together and do a team building
Sure.
thing. There's a lot
I've
of
done
things you
quite a
can do
number of
over
team
there.
building exercises. There were folks, as things started opening back up, I had employers calling and saying, okay, my people are back at work, but they're not right. And I love it. My background is in organizational behavior and psychology, and I love it. When parents come in with teenagers, they're going to change the world. When bosses and managers come in with employees, I love it because it means that they're really getting the whole employee and they want healthy people and a healthy workplace. And so recognizing that folks coming through as we're still in the middle of a global pandemic and not knowing whether or not what's going to happen at work. And this, as you mentioned in the intro, now I've got to homeschool my kids too, and oh my goodness, I'm glad my kids are grown. I feel for those parents. So there's so much going on that is causing frustration, and so definitely the employers coming in. I've had some really incredible responses from employees. I think it and they're saying it just kind of makes them feel good about where they work and knowing that their employers get them. It builds loyalty. It reduces burnout. It's perfect, and. We do. Our dragon room is a room where 2 people can rage at a time.
Nice.
And no more than 2 people at a time. Okay. And then my volcano room is for people raging solo. And when I do parties or groups, what we do is you take over the whole building and we're going to rotate you through. So if you come in with your employees, then I'm going to put you in the dragon room and then rotate employees. And so everybody gets to smash some stuff with Mike, right? And then we always want to give people an opportunity to do some solo rage because if they're especially in work groups and sometimes even just in friend and family groups, if we're raging with another person, we're going to have fun and we're tossing to each other and that kind of thing. But we also might still be very, very conscious of, is that other person watching me? Are they judging me? Am I really going to let loose and scream and yell and maybe cuss? And am I going to go, when I throw the tires? Because I've got tires sitting on top of tires and those tires are heavy. So they might be worried about that and they might hold back. And so I always want to offer, even when we do groups, and people will self-select, hey, who wants to go solo? Who knows that they'd like to do a solo session? And folks will raise their hands because they know, I just want to be left alone and I want to beat some stuff and get this out because I know it's just kind of stuck right here. Yeah. So, wow. We rotate you through and then they get the paint together.
Melissa Knight, she's the creator of this, The Art of Anger in the Tower District. Go to theartofanger.com, artofanger.com, and find out everything there is to know about it. But it's happening in Fresno. There is something to do in Fresno. And if you can't find anything to do in Fresno, go to the Fresno's Rage Room, theartofanger.com. We'll be back with more Central Valley Talk right after this.
Thank you.
If you're on Medicare and Medicaid in the state of California, you may be able to get more benefits at no additional cost. A United Healthcare Dual Complete Plan combines your Medicare and Medi-Cal coverage to give you more benefits than original Medicare. If you have Medicare and Medi-Cal, call Paris Clough, an independent insurance agent, at 559-825-1678. That's 559-825-1678. This plan is available to anyone who has both medical assistance from the state and Medicare.
With Organic Pastures Raw Milk, you're getting a product that has been meticulously managed from grass to glass. From our pastures to our dairy, creamery, and distribution, we work hard to produce a product that is safe and clean for you.
Got lactose intolerance or dairy allergies? Discover delicious raw milk and discover dairy the way it's supposed to be. We provide tours and would love to see you. Come visit the cows, watch the milking, the cheese being made, and learn all about raw milk. We're just 20 miles south and west of Fresno, California. Call to schedule a tour at 559-846-9732.
Clovis Community College may be free for you to attend. Call 325-5239 or visit cloviscollege.edu for details. We offer general education classes for transfer and short-term training programs.
Give your child the tools to succeed. The Yergubian Academic Center offers one-on-one and group educational lessons by appointment. Over 90% of our students show significant improvement in their academics in just 3 months. Students of the Yergubian Academic Center have gone on to UCLA, UC San Diego, Yale, Stanford, and many more prestigious universities. Schedule a tutoring session today. Call 559-437-3973.